I don't care if it's a Layers of the Earth tier list, a Simp tier list, a Members of Fallout Boy tier list, like freaking glass cleaning agents tier list. I really don't care. Like once you put it in like competition, I care. Now I care. Now what do I care about the most? More than even, I don't know, fast food. Well, okay, that's a stretch, but what do I care about a lot? Obviously, Dota 2. Briefly about myself, I am a rank 1000 player. I play on NA, and this right here is my tier list. I don't think it, well, it's my opinion, but I don't think it's going to be very controversial. I would love to hear differing opinions, of course, but let's jump right into it with the S tiers. Now, to be S tier, you have to be good in most games. You have to be just overwhelmingly powerful, counter other parts of the meta, and right now, I got 6 heroes in the S tier. Naga Siren, PL, Timbersaw, Clockwerk, Lycan, Pangolier. I think the only one on this list that might draw a couple questions is Pangolier. I've definitely heard people talk about, oh, the indirect nerfs made Pangolier bad. I mean, that's a huge freaking stretch. Pangolier is viable in actually every lane except for position 5. Carry Pangolier is pretty bad too, but you can do it. Something that the Pangolier players are shifting toward now is more of an aura build, because that used to be a weakness of Pangolier, right? If you pick him for the offlane, then you got an offlaner without really any auras or tankiness, like maybe you would make Greaves, and he was more of a space consumer than a space maker, which is the last thing you want in your offlaner generally. Same thing with Timbersaw, of course. He's really more of a space taker than a space maker, but he generally can solo carry games and he never dies, a little bit more so than a Pangolier. What just makes Pangolier so broken is he's just invincible practically in his ball. Like very few heroes can deal with him while he's rolling. Lycan, even after the nerf, 6 damage, that's a big loss. I would have expected him to drop to A, but his stats are still insane. He's still boasting a 60% win rate. In Immortal, PL, Naga, I mean, what more do I have to say about it? There's 118 heroes in Dota. You know, we don't got time to go over every single one of them. Clockwerk, this is just the go-to most solid position 4 in the game right now, in my opinion. While he has fallen a bit victim to mobility creep, I mean, think about it, like, almost every new hero has some way to deal with cogs in the past, like, 3 years. Like, Void Spirit, Snapfire, they just get out of cogs. Mars can spear you out of cogs. Pangolier's gonna swashbuckle out of cogs. Like, there has been a lot of mobility creep in Dota, which has been bad for Clockwerk, and he's been trashed for quite some time. But he's been getting buff after buff after buff, and the fact that he needs no items and very few levels to operate is a huge deal. And let's not forget that although there has been a general mobility creep, the strength of the mobility items has overall gone down. Force Staff has received quite a few nerfs now. So I think overall Clockwerk is just in a great spot. His win rates are amazing. A tier, I don't think there's really a single pick on here that would be considered controversial. I will go ahead and talk about some that maybe you wouldn't expect to find. Juggernaut was bad for a while, but his new Aghanims, I wasn't sold on it at first, but it's actually really good. I mean, it's the amount of time Juggernaut's just basically invulnerable in a fight is crazy. You have Spin going for 5 seconds. You have Omni Slash. You're probably going to have another Dispel from Manta. Then you have the Aghanims now. And then by the time you Aghanim, Spin could be up again. Like, you're so invulnerable in a fight, it just completely renders heroes that rely on purgeable debuffs like almost useless against you at a certain point in the game. Not to mention Spin is just still like one of the strongest early game spells, period. And his items in general are kind of on the up and up, with Battle Fury being really good again. Maybe some people would have questions about LC. LC I could see going down to B just because, again, obviously auras are, as they always are, just really in the meta. LC is not your ideal aura builder, but her strength in lane is just so insane that you can just make auras anyway and just, you know, use duel as a stun as opposed to trying to collect duel damage and just solo carry. You don't really need to do that. Snapfire, despite all the nerfs, I'm still going to put her in A. The nerfs have hurt a lot. I think I'm a very good judge of the strength of heroes, and when Snapfire came out, I thought she was fine. I don't like how Ice Frog overreacts in the matter of days and nerfs things down or up after the result of days, because in many ways the current Snapfire is worse than the Snapfire at release, and it's pretty crazy to think about. I think you should have given time to let people figure out more about what Snapfire's strengths and weaknesses are, because her ulti does less damage than when she came out, which is a little sad, but yeah, she's still really, really good. B tier, Queen of Pain, that was the one I had the most questions about. She's been very bad for a very, very long time, but she's gotten so many buffs. Slow to Shadow Strike recently, 10-second cooldown on the ulti taken away, some ulti damage, some intelligence growth. Those are really nice stats to get on that mid hero. The cost of bottle being reduced, the fact that she's so good at securing those runes, I feel like that bumps her up to B. Her win rate, I mean, I don't think anyone would really argue that SF is not B tier, but SF's win rate is much worse than Queen of Pain at all skill brackets almost. So I just think it would be unfair to put Queen of Pain in C tier. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give her B here. I play her a bit, and I'm about 50-50 with her. It's not, you know, I'm not very sold on it, but every time you play against this hero, usually win or lose, you feel it has an impact. So I'm comfortable with her being B for now. We have some heroes that could maybe be higher, but they're just not played very much. They require a lot of skill, like Lone Druid and Chen. This isn't necessarily a pro player tier list. This is more of an Immortal Pubs tier list. So I'm going to keep Lone Druid and Chen in B tier right now. I do think Brood is still really, really strong, as long as you're not hard countered. Tusk is maybe a hero that we haven't seen for a while. Tusk, I think his stock is way up. Earth Spirit as well. Roaming is less dead than it has been in the past year. It's less dead than it has been, and just in general, they're very strong. Kind of gankers. You don't have to be roaming the whole time. If you have an offlaner that you can completely sack, like I don't like position 3 Clockwerk, but let's say you have a Clockwerk or a Sand King, somebody that's probably fine, Centaur, probably fine if you just leave them alone, then they can roam pretty much non-stop, and you'll be fine, and you can just focus on winning the other 2 lanes and just let your offlane get sacked. So I feel really good about those heroes. C tier, we've got some staples like Slardar, and, well, I say staple, what does that even mean? Is he a staple to C tier? Kind of, yes, for the past year and a half or so. If you knew me at all before I became, you know, one of the most popular coaches and before I started streaming and whatnot, you knew me because of Slardar. I was number 7 Slardar on Dota buff. I was playing this hero when nobody was, when he was, you know, hideously ugly and everyone thought he was trash. I was in a Dota buff article about the right way to play Slardar because, spoiler alert, building Blink Vanguard was trash. Even back then, it was super bad. His nerfs hit hard. A lot of people thought he was still broken. I do not think so at all. His win rate is still above 50 in pretty much every bracket, but, you know, I play a fuck ton of Slardar, and he just does not feel that good. Let's think about this, right? What buff did he get that made him, like, all of a sudden in S tier? He got 10 movement speed. Now, 10 movement speed is a big deal on Slardar. This guy relies a lot on movement speed, plus he's got sprint, so it makes 10 really a bit more like, you know, 14 or whatever. It's a big deal on Slardar for sure, but before that 10 movement speed, you guys realize he was like C tier at best. Like, at best. Like, that hero lost a lot. And he got one little buff, and then he went all the way up to S tier. The nerfs he got, I think, are worse than getting 10 movement speed. I think the mana cost, the reduction in armor and damage, yeah. Don't think he's that good. Definitely not a hero that I'm scared of when I see him. Not a hero I'm annoyed when I play it against. Nothing like that, so I'm going to keep him in C tier. Bat Rider, again, 7.25B is just hit him kind of hard. He used to be maybe even A, but yeah, Flame Break was broken, but now it's been completely gutted. The only thing that Sticky Napalm has that it didn't before is that you can cast it without turning, but the cast range and the slow amount is lower. He lost some move speed on Firefly and some cooldown. He's got damage on Lasso, which is cool, I guess, but yeah, not not broken anymore, is basically what I'm trying to say there. One hero that maybe you could argue does not belong here is Medusa. She has the lowest win rate in Immortal. That being said, if you have a coordinated team in any capacity and you don't have greedy other lanes, you can easily funnel a ton of farm into this Medusa and have her just solo carry. I've seen it happen many times. I don't hate having a Medusa on my team. I don't mind playing against one either necessarily, which is why she's, comfortably in the middle of C tier. A lot of people might put Huskar higher. Again, I'm annoyed to play against this hero, but I don't lose against it that much. Like, I'm not. He's gotten some well-deserved nerfs. I think he's where he deserves to be. Huskar was one of those heroes that was sleeper, incredibly broken for a really long time, and I don't know why the pros never realized it. Like, let's say TI4 meta, if any of you guys can remember back to then or were around then. Heroes that I was drafting in my ranked captain mode games back then were like DP, Tidehunter, Razor. Those things were a huge priority for us, and it wasn't really at all in the pro scene. But come TI4, things like DP immediately just became S tier. I do not think there are any heroes like that in this patch that are actually broken but are not experimented with enough or not known about enough. I don't think any heroes like that really exist. Back when Huskar had like 99.25% magic resistance, like what the actual fuck? Yeah, he was really broken, but nowadays I'm really just not that scared of the Huskar compared to what I used to be. There's a lot more ways to reduce HP regeneration than there used to be. His items are mostly really good right now, to be honest. Halberd, super duper good. BKB is always good, but it's the least good right now. There are quite a few things that go through it compared to before. So his items are like pretty good, but overall, meh. I'm not that impressed. Alright, on to D tier. In D tier we have Alchemist. You might have expected to see him lower, but he has gotten some pretty nice buffs, and his win rate has gone up by a lot. I would not be surprised if he all of a sudden becomes big during TI again, which is a classic. Now TI might not be happening, or might be happening in some sort of reduced capacity, but if it does happen, I'm expecting more Alchemist than before. You might be surprised to see Bounty Hunter. I do not mind playing against this hero at all. He is super bad from behind. If you cannot get track kills, then he's kind of a bad hero. And I don't like the Aghanims very much. It hardly seems like an upgrade compared to the old one where the Shuriken went through it twice and no one bought that. Like, that was bad. This new Aghanims, yeah, he's enjoying an increased win rate, but I don't know. He's already been nerfed. It's really not for me. I do play this hero, but as far as like a flexible pick that I can count on to win with, no, definitely not for me. Mirana, she's seen a big uptick like last patch, probably even F tier, but she's gotten some of that extreme harassing power back with that little 2 damage buff. I mean, when you have as much range as she does, that's a big deal. Also, Arrow is kind of like that little built-in Midas for a support if you're playing her as support. That's a really big deal, obviously. Being able to farm a big creep with that Arrow, or let's say snipe a catapult or range creep or whatever. That's a really big deal experience-wise for you. Spirit Breaker. I might almost move Spirit Breaker up. We'll have to see how it progresses. I do play this hero. I did have some very successful Battle Cup games with him where we won. The Tier 8 Battle Cup with a couple Spirit Breaker games. So I might move him back up, but really, outside of the landing stage, I'm not super sold on this guy. The whole vision of charge, that mechanic's really strong. I really like that. The new Aghanims I do think is better than his old Aghanims, but this hero is one of the worst farming heroes in the game, without a doubt. So being able to get that Aghanims consistently, not that easy. Definitely not that easy. Then we have E tier. Dragonite, I struggled a little bit to put here, but he still has a bad win rate in Immortal. And it's just one of those heroes that I see, it's like, I'm not afraid at all. Like, it has to be a really perfect Dragonite game. And even then, like, he's usually not much of a damage dealer. He's more of a damage soaker. Uses stuns, and that's kind of it. Maybe he pushes your towers. You just kind of avoid him. If you ever get to counterpick this guy, it gets real sad real fast for him. He can build the auras, you know, in the off lane and be tanky there, but I would rather have somebody that can, you know, initiate without items or actually deal damage. Definitely not a fan. We got a lot of heroes that are pretty sad right now. I welcome anyone to challenge any of these E tiers. Darkseer is one you could maybe say deserves to be higher. His win rate has gone up quite a lot, but this hero is just really, really bad to me right now. He pushes the lane so much, and regen values. Think about this, right? It's not abnormal to have 6 HP regen a second nowadays. Years ago, 1.5, like that was normal. So you're running it like 4 times the amount of regeneration that you used to be, which means Ion Shell is not scary anymore. Ion Shell used to be scary. If you were a melee hero, you were scared of Ion Shell. Now, fuck it, dude. Cut my lane. I don't care. Like, just let me farm under tower. I don't even care that much about these Ion Shells. So that aspect of him got way worse. The wall has been super buffed. I will say that the wall is actually pretty good now. It was dog shit before, but it is pretty good now. I could see him rising, but this hero does really poorly in pro games. I hate having it on my team. I don't mind playing against it at all. Pushing in the wave kind of, like, he doesn't have much kill potential either, so pushing in the wave doesn't always mean, oh, you can dive the carry. It usually just means, oh, the carry gets to farm safely. Yeah, he'll get farmed pretty much most games, but none of his skills scale with farm really at all. He just builds auras and hopes for the best. Not a fan. And then we have the F tier. CK, Warlock, Pudge, Techies, Tiny. Anyone want to argue with this? I don't think you can really argue with this. Tiny is one that the people that I showed this prior said, really, Tiny? I don't think so. No. Tiny is really bad now, and he deserves it. Please let him stay bad for at least a little while. Tiny has been so strong for so long, and he's finally bad. Just let him stay bad for a little bit longer. This hero pretty much has to be played as support, and wow, his levels scale, like he needs levels now, but he still has to be played as support. That's tough. But he gains literally 0 agility. He lost attacks. Well, that's what he lost, right? Yeah, he lost damage, attack speed. So like him as a carry is even worse. And at some point as a support, you're going to be getting useless levels. You never use tree, and multiple levels in your ulti barely help at all. So at some point, you're going to be getting useless levels on one of your heroes. That's not good. That is not good. You should not be feeling like, oh, after level 9, my levels don't matter on Tiny. That is not how you should be feeling. And the main strength of Tiny is that he just could kill somebody, right? Just outright with his combo, just kill somebody. Well, HP is higher than it used to be. Neutral items given a little bit of stats or resistance of some form. It is very hard for a support Tiny to just combo down anyone at all in the game. Even fragile supports, you can't combo down. If you can't combo them down, well, you're just on cooldown for quite a while, and you certainly can't click anyone with this pathetic attack speed as a support. So yeah, just let him stay bad for now. I would love to hear your opinions on this, where you agree or disagree. Again, this is more geared toward Immortal pubs. If you want to see one for like Herald level pubs, I would love to do that. Obviously, somebody like Sniper would be S tier, but right now I've gone through a couple of revisions of this, and I'm liking how it is now. But I'm open to, and I would love to hear any arguments. So thanks again for watching, and peace out.